So the overarching theme of my PhD is trying to identify what those key performance indicators of skating speed are. And there's a few projects in the works right now and some ongoing, but our first kind of bigger project was trying to build off of the current body of literature that's out there on identifying what those off-ice KPIs are for skating speed. And there's a lot of studies out there that are, using relationships and correlations and modeling. And so what we did to try to build on that was we tried to really grow the sample size. So we had over 100 athletes included in the study. And then we tried to control for some of these confounding variables that might have introduced some error or variation in the model. So we controlled for a player's age, their competitive level, their height, weight, their level of strength, anything that might have taken away from some of the accuracy of the model. And then after we ran that, the kind of main take homes were first our off ice tests that represent our general physical abilities are highly predictive of a player's skating speed. So our model was able to explain upwards of 80% of the variation in skating times we saw. And for us as practitioners, that's pretty empowering, knowing how much of a player's skating speed is explained, just by these very basic off ice tests. Second thing that we found, top speed sprinting, represented by our 20 to 30 meter split time in our sprint test, was our strongest global predictor of 30-meter skating time. And when I say global predictor, I mentioned that we controlled for all of these covariates and confounding variables. Well, a global predictor meant that it was the most predictive for everybody. So it didn't mean if you're tall or short or old or young, heavy or light, that was going to be the most indicative of a fast skater if you were a fast sprinter within that split time. So for me as a practitioner, I'm pulling out two usable pieces out of that. First, as a training stimulus, it might be something pretty potent for us that we can use to impact their speed qualities on ice. And I think for practitioners in the strength and conditioning world, a lot of us are doing a lot of really good acceleration work, and maybe less are kind of pushing into more of that max speed type of training stimulus. So it kind of encourages that might be a good opportunity for us from a programming standpoint. And then it serves as a really nice proxy test for us off the ice. On ice testing can be very logistically demanding. I've done hundreds of sessions, and it's always challenging. There's always a lot of things that pop up, and it's time demanding as well. So if I'm working with an organization or a coach is working with an organization that they might not be open to on ice testing, or you just logistically might not be able to execute it very often, I can use this 20 to 30 meter split time as a pretty good proxy to get an idea of where an athlete might fall relative to the peers in terms of skating speed, and to use to track longitudinally over time. Our second main global predictor was counter movement jump height, which checks the box of lower body power, which we know is really important for skating speed. And then the last thing that came out of it, which was kind of an interesting one that I found, we only had one cohort specific predictor that came out, and that was relative breaking net impulse. And relative breaking net impulse from the counter movement jump was predictive for skating speed only in weaker athletes, not in stronger athletes. And so the way I kind of navigate that is, if you think of the skating stride, it goes through phases of weight acceptance to full support before you're getting into propulsion. And if you have an athlete that's weak, shown in a lower breaking net impulse on a jump, that might suggest it just takes them a little bit longer to get from that weight acceptance into being able to produce effective force into the ice to propel them forward, versus a stronger athlete where they're going to be able to navigate that a little bit more quickly, get into propulsion a little bit more quickly.